thank you once again, everybody, for joining us today for this webinar, which is launching the new Arts and Sciences Leadership Major. I want to introduce our presenters for today. We have Scott Levi, the Chair of History, and also Krista Johnson, who serves as the Associate Director of the Arts and Sciences Leadership Major. Thanks for being here today, and I'll turn it over to you, both of you.
Great, thank you very much, Alex, and to all of our audience members. Thank you all very much for joining us. Good afternoon. I hope the noon to 1 o'clock slot is a great time to have some lunch and then learn a little something else, something about something that's happening really exciting here at OSU, and we're very happy to be able to present on our new Arts and Sciences interdisciplinary major in leadership. So as Alex said, I'm Scott Levi. I'm chair of the Department of History, and I'm joining you from Dulles Hall right here on OSU's campus. And to no small extent, the major itself really was born in this office that I'm sitting in right now, in conversations with some colleagues around the College of Arts and Sciences. So one of the questions I often get about the new Arts and Sciences leadership major is why leadership in the College of Arts and Sciences? And I'll say the idea really emanated from some hard conversations that we were having back in 2019. There were, some of us may remember, a spate of articles in Inside Higher Ed, the Chronicle of Higher Ed, and some other academic journals we're really drawing attention to and questioning the value of a liberal arts education. And as somebody who is professionally committed to the transformative value of the liberal arts and sciences. And also, I was a newly appointed chair of the Department of History. This was something that I wanted to address head on. I really wanted to take it on. In my role as chair of the history department, I'll say one of the topics that we often brag about is that a disproportionate number of history majors over the course of their careers find their way into leadership roles. And so as I was thinking about this from my perspective as history chair, I thought maybe we should develop a leadership in history program. And so I started talking with some of the friends of the department, some of our alumni, CEOs, CFOs, successful lawyers, history majors who'd been very successful in business and in politics. We had a number of conversations, and the feedback that I kept getting from these conversations was, Scott, we think what you're doing is great. We really want you to lean into this leadership idea, but we don't think you're being ambitious enough. And it took me a while to really come to terms with that, to grapple with it. And what I realized was that the liberal arts is an extraordinary canvas for students to explore all sorts of disciplines, not just history, but many other disciplines that are the lessons from which are absolutely critical for individuals who are going to find their way into leadership roles to really be able to master. And so I started thinking a little bit more broadly, and I realized what I was looking at was something that it was a new idea. It was something pretty unique, pretty original, that we were going to be developing a new interdisciplinary arts and sciences leadership major, not a program within any one department. The history department, my colleagues here have been great in terms of supporting the major and helping the College of Arts and Sciences stand it up. But in every important way, and my colleague Krista Johnson will talk about some of the specifics, in every important way, there's no one department that owns or controls the major. It is an arts and sciences interdisciplinary venture. As you look, if one were to, as I did, spend some time looking at various leadership programs across the country, you're going to find that there are a lot of them. I would say, I don't know if most, but certainly many universities and colleges across the country have programs in leadership. Almost all of those programs are housed in colleges of business or schools of management. Very, very few programs exist in colleges of arts and sciences. And so here, as I approach this from a perspective of a history professor, when I teach my courses and we're talking about the history of the humanities and the history of the liberal arts, these are ways of approaching the production and dissemination of knowledge that are specifically designed to help train future leaders. And so that all of those issues really informed the idea behind the creation of this major. So, like I said, this started back in 2019. We slid into the pandemic, of course, in 2020, and then through 2021, we had lots of conversations with colleagues. I at the outset, I thought maybe I would get 8 or maybe even 10 different departments across the College of Arts and Sciences to join with us and participate and put together curriculum and create this interdisciplinary major. I had so many conversations across the 3 divisions here in Arts and Sciences. We've got Arts and Humanities, Social Behavioral Sciences, and Natural Mathematical Sciences. We have departments from every one of the divisions, and we have a total of 38 units in Arts and Sciences. 30 of those 38 are offering us curricula. We have partners in 30 different departments here within Arts and Sciences. Beyond that, we also reached out to other colleges and other units across the university. Every department in ROTC is partnering with us. The College of Nursing is partnering with us, as is the College of Public Health. The Fisher College of Business has recently become a partner, as has Education and Human Ecology. We are encouraging these sorts of interdisciplinary partnerships to the extent that we can. And again, I think Krista will talk about some of these issues and some of the ways that these partnerships really help to serve our students here at Ohio State. The conversations that we had with our partners as we've been developing this major. There were a few elements that our partners really wanted to make certain that we drove home, that were core components. If you're going to build an interdisciplinary liberal arts leadership major, we ask ourselves, what has to be there? And of course, being the chair of history, I wanted to make certain that we are talking about leadership in both contemporary and historical perspectives. We want our students to be able to look to the past, to learn lessons. What worked, what didn't, what are various leadership models that have been applied in different places and at different times. Beyond that, history is one of the core liberal arts disciplines, and history has a lot to offer. So that's one element of what we wanted to make certain that our students are exposed to, so something that the program itself is steeped in. Beyond that, my colleagues emphasize the importance of critical exposure to ethics. And so Krista Johnson is actually a specialist in ethics and ethics of leadership. But the issue is leaders, of course, you're serving a constituency. Actually, you're serving multiple constituencies. And how does a leader guide an organization, whatever that organization may be, whether it's a business or whether one's in politics or a law office or what have you? Training in ethics is absolutely critical. One cannot necessarily just trust their instinct, trust their gut. You have to be able to think ethically and think and be able to balance many different tensions within the organization and then within society at large. So we designed a new ethics of leadership course. Our colleague Piers Turner over in the philosophy department actually wrote up the syllabus, and then Krista has joined us since, and Krista's teaching that now to a class full of, I think you said 45 students, which is great. We designed a leadership in history course. And my colleague Robin Judd. Robin and Piers both serve on the faculty advisory committee for the major. As I said, Piers is over in philosophy. Robin is here in history. Robin teaches the leadership in history class. We taught that last year for the first time to a group of students. Initially, we found a class that seated 45 students, and it filled up in 2 days. We found a larger room that would seat 72 students, and it filled up again just that quickly. So that was before we even had the major. The major itself, we have seen it through all of the various stages of development and approval. Last academic year, about a year ago, well, we took it through Arts and Sciences approvals, and then it had to go through Council of Academic Affairs, and then finally in October, the Ohio Department of Higher Education signed off. So the major now actually formally exists. So maybe I should have led with that, but today, here in February of 2025, the major does exist. We do, in fact, have majors. The big launch will be coming as we move through the spring toward and look toward autumn of 2025. But I'm proud to say that we have, even before any big launch, there's a demand for among our students. There's a lot of student interest. So we've created something that is dedicated to really, I'd say, the North Star of our educational model here at Ohio State. And if one may say we have dueling North Stars. One is Disciplina in Civitatem, education for citizenship. Those are the first three words of the proposal for the major. The proposal ran to more than 200 pages, but that is that motto of OSU informs the major. The other is our commitment to the Morrill Act, the land grant mission of the Ohio State University, our commitment to serving the citizens of the state of Ohio. Those two principles really drive the center, the moral compass of this major, as we're looking to our students and trying to make certain that OSU faculty and our administration is doing what we can to help prepare our students for successful careers and to rise into leadership roles wherever our students' careers may take them. Recognizing that careers change an awful lot more now than they used to, we need to be flexible. We need our students to be flexible, and we've designed this major in such a way as to really serve the interests of those students. So with that, I think I'll stop right there and pass the mic over to Krista. I want to make certain to save plenty of time for questions and answers. Again, I know we've got a fair number of advisors who are in the audience today, and I thank you very much for your time, your interest. We want to make certain that we can answer your questions to the best extent that we can. Krista, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Scott, for that background. My role here in this presentation is to kind of run you through what the major actually looks like in practice. What exactly did we develop? What will a major be doing here, coursework and otherwise? Like Scott said, we're going to leave lots of time to ask questions, especially if you're an advisor, but really anyone. Alex had put the major website in the chat. There is a sort of advising tab and it says for advisors. There's actually a little advising sheet. So if you're an advisor and you want that nitty gritty, you can kind of follow along with that. But in the more detailed, right, there is the just sort of curriculum tab on there that also will help you run through it with me. So with all that background in liberal arts that Scott was referring to, as he said, we really wanted to make sure that every student got that foundation. So Scott mentioned that students have to take this history class as well as my ethics and leadership class. The other two core courses, there's 4 classes that students need to take in this sort of core before they get into different kinds of disciplines. And so in addition to history and ethics, students need to take a course in diversity and leadership. The idea here is that we've got students coming from all different backgrounds inside Ohio, whether it's urban or rural, students outside of Ohio. And we want to prepare all students from all backgrounds to be able to go into positions all over the place. And so the diversity and leadership class right now that we have on the books is race and gender and leadership, taught in the Women, Gender, Sexuality Studies department. But we also are looking to expand offerings in that section. So we're looking to see if someone in sociology has an interest in developing a course, and there might be other options in the future. And then the 4th course is in the practice of leadership. And right now we have 3 options for that. Political leadership, organizational leadership and nonprofit arts, and organizational psychology. So here we want to round out this core with the idea that, I think a lot of people look at liberal arts as just this kind of like in the classroom, you're just learning about things, but not doing. And so this is sort of the liberal arts meets actual practicing of leadership, right? So students take those 4 core courses. And then they move on to their specializations. So we have a total of 12 specializations or pathways for students to choose. And this is where the breadth of the 30 departments comes in. This is where we have students say, I don't just want to be a leader. I want to be a leader in the arts. I want to own an art studio one day or a gallery. I want to be a coach, right? I want to do sports leadership. I want to go into politics. So here, students choose their specialization. They can choose politics and law. They can choose business and markets, right? So we have these partnerships with the business school. And so we actually have a business student right now already declared who's going to double major with the leadership in business and markets, as well as get a degree in Fisher. Military security studies, that's our great partnership with students in ROTC programs. Social justice and civil rights. And then there are sort of 2 specializations that have breakdown into like further pathways. So leadership in society, you might choose sports leadership, leadership in the arts, urban leadership, or health leadership. And then science and innovation, you can sort of go with innovation or environmental leadership. So the idea here is that this isn't just sort of generic leadership studies, right? We have those core courses that are important for everyone, no matter where they go. But then we want to let you specialize so that way you can learn a bit more about your specific areas. And so within those specializations, students take 6 courses, 3 skills courses and 3 content courses. The content courses are kind of where you're getting that background in your area, right? That's where, if you're in sports leadership, you might be taking a kinesiology class, right? If you're in the arts, maybe you're taking that graphic design class. We still want these courses to be focused on sort of outreach and leadership and organizational features and areas of those specializations, but it's really learning a little bit more about the actual field. The 3 skills classes are where students are they're really learning how to be a leader, right? All students have to take a communications class. There's a number of options they can take. And then students have options that a lot of them are across the specializations, but some of them are specific. It might be, so Fisher is developing a course that will be a skills class for business and markets, for instance. But these courses might be psychology classes. They might be, the English department has an art of persuasion class. They might be data analysis classes, right? Depending on the sort of specialization you're in. So just the skills that a leader in these areas might need. And then the other feature that we have in the skills classes is that students are able to get 3 credits to do an experiential learning opportunity. So for students in ROTC, they can sign up to take 3 credits to count towards the major for doing ROTC. The Mount Leadership Society, they can use that. Service learning and especially internships, right? So student has a summer internship lined up. They can also sign up for 3 credits that will count towards the major for having done that. And the idea here is that we want students to get credit for going out in the world and really doing leadership. We want to encourage it to not be just in the classroom learning about leadership, but actually going out into the world and starting to practice it. And then once you do those 6 classes, what's left is one more 3-credit class that's a capstone course, right? So here, all of the specializations, students are going to be intermixed back together in small seminar style courses where they are going to have this culminating experience. They're going to do a bit more of a dive into the scholarship of leadership, but they're also going to do leadership projects in their own interests. They're going to do some career development. So we actually just submitted to do a career success grant to really boost the career readiness aspect of this capstone course. So maybe it's disc training, and maybe it's getting different kinds of specializations that they can write on their resumes to maybe it's interview training, but trying to make sure that when they're ready for the next step for the career, the capstone has prepared them. And here's where they're also going to turn in their portfolio. So this is the sort of non-credit bearing thing I haven't talked about yet, which is that majors throughout their time are going to be developing a digital portfolio. And things that go into this portfolio are reflections on courses, but also reflections on their experiential learning. We want to make it the case that, yes, they get 3 credits for it, but also we help students to find these opportunities. So we also are busy right now making partnerships with companies that are interested in hiring leadership majors from Ohio State. So we already have a few external partners lined up. Or if a student comes and says, I want to do an internship, but I have no idea, I have no connections, right? We have places for them to go. And we also are looking to help students who find opportunities, but maybe can't afford to take the time because of the costs of living wherever their internship is. So we have donors that have already sort of helped support, and we can use those funds to help our students take on these opportunities. So these reflections from experiential learning, we're also lining up leaders in the world to come in and talk to our students. We've had the former CEO of Procter & Gamble is a huge partner, John Pepper. And then, we've had retired general. I'm having my students are going to have a visit with Akron mayor in a couple of weeks. And so the thought is that, 3 to 4 times a semester, our majors are going to have opportunities to, again, get outside of the classroom experience and actually talk to real leaders and pick their brains. And, we hope that these sorts of experiences show up in their portfolios as well. So they turn that in the capstone, and hopefully that sort of rounds out their curriculum. And so that's like the major itself. Things to highlight too that we really are proud of is that we find this to be a really robust solo major, but we worked really hard to make sure that is also attractive as a double major. So we're very flexible here. Students can take up to 9 credits, double counting for another major. The other major department has to agree to this, but on our end, it is agreed that we are welcoming of this double counting. And because of the interdisciplinary nature of the major, having courses from 30 different departments, as well as from other colleges, right, there's a lot of overlap where students can take this opportunity. And those 9 credits of overlap can be non-ASC credits. So the college allows that students can have up to 9 credits of non-ASC to graduate with in the college. And so we're allowing those to double count and work with those partnerships that Scott mentioned outside of the college, which also includes recently the Glenn School as well. We have an understanding with a program they run that some of their courses can count too. And I mean, in addition to that 9 credits, that experiential learning 3 credits is another way in which if students are taking an internship anyway, now that's sort of 1 course off. So what is a 33 credit major, which looks, is indeed robust on its own, is a lot easier to think of as a double major once you have 12 credits total that can come from another major from that experiential learning, right? So the hope is that, and I'm talking to you advisors right now, right? The hope is that students really find this to be a true opportunity to both get this education in leadership, but supplement that with not just 3 courses in their content, but a full second major where they really get that robust background in their field of study alongside this the study of the arts, the liberal arts in leadership. So I'm sure I'm missing something. Scott, am I missing anything?
Well, there's the capstone opportunity.
Hmm?
the senior capstone or the capstone seminar.
I
Um,
did talk about the
all
capstone.
right. Well, I was going to say, as an opportunity for students to take the work that they're doing in their internships
Mhm.
and then explore that and use that to propel them into their careers. It's designed so that there's this really great opportunity for students to do this original. It could be a partnership, but it's original, ideally independent kind of a research project where if you've got a student who's off on an internship, getting credit for that, then they come back and they can continue that relationship and propel them into their careers that way. Trying to be, as Krista's been saying, as flexible as possible and really student focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that right now this is the major as we have it at this launch moment. But as I mentioned with the core, there's opportunities for other courses to be added. We have the power for exceptions. So if there's a course that we missed, that a student comes to us and says, "Hey, I really think this should count," right? We can make those exceptions. But also we are interested in possibly adding specializations, right? Finding out that, actually we have students that are really interested in something like global leadership, right? And so we still have the power of the entire college, and there's great things going on throughout the college that we haven't even tapped yet. So while this is what we have going on right now, the plan is to keep moving,
Yeah.
uh, and sort of let students and the college sort of dictate where we take it.
That's great. That's right. Yeah. So global leadership, as Krista says, is one area where we are trying to build a head of steam to build out a new specialization. We've got great resources here in arts and sciences. There are other resources beyond arts and sciences, and then partnering with the Office of International Affairs. So they've expressed an interest in helping us see this one go forward. Another thing I think we could mention is the discrete pathways that Krista did mention. She mentioned sports leadership, health leadership. Um, and leadership in the arts is another one, which I have to admit was not on my radar in the early stages. But when I presented this as an early idea to the arts chairs, the chairs of the arts departments, they enthusiastically jumped on board and made a strong case for why there should be a discrete pathway that really serves students who want to pursue careers in the arts. And it's I think it's a source of great pride that we've got that. But as we look ahead 5 years and 10 years, um, who knows what the future is going to hold and where our curriculum is going to grow and what other new pathways we are going to want to build out. So we've also taken care to develop this in a very flexible way, so that we can identify those new pathways and build them in as time marches on. All right. Krista, we've got I think we have 3 questions in the Q&A so far. The first question comes from Roger Westmeyer, who I know is a faculty over in the Glenn College. So Roger's question, any coverage on critical thinking? Roger, yes, absolutely. It's critical. I know it's an important part of your career as well. Critical thinking is baked in as required learning outcomes in the core courses that are the students who are moving through this major are required to take. So those 4 core required courses. And I'll speak specifically about the leadership in history course. And then Krista, you can also talk about the ethics of leadership course. Critical thinking skills are they're a critical component of virtually all of our history curriculum. The importance of teaching our students to think critically. Here, when I'm talking about what I'm talking about when I say critical thinking is I'll say when I'm talking with folks who don't know that much, they know history is the study of the past, but they don't really know that much about the discipline. The points that I want to make are that the study of history is not just studying how one factor generates one historical event, sets off another historical event, and we see a chain reaction in that way. Studying history is the study of the convergence of multiple historical processes, all of which are complex and all of which are converging at different rates of speed and different weights, changing weights of importance. And if you can get your students to study and to understand the complexity of historical change over time, to be able to articulate that, right? And then to go do their own original research in primary source materials, sources that are historical sources, different kinds of sources, with all of their inconsistencies and all of their conflicting evidence. And they can analyze those sources for bias and reliability. And they can use those sources to make an original historical argument. Those kinds of skills, that's the critical thinking that I'm talking about. Those kinds of skills, I say, are just as applicable in the classroom as they are in the boardroom. So wherever a student is going to be going, yeah, we want them to absolutely be steeped in those critical thinking skills, Roger, that you're talking about. Krista, anything you want to add on that one?
I mean, yeah, I think similar to history, I mean, philosophy, especially given we're an analytic philosophy department, like all we do is critical thinking. That is, so in the ethics and leadership course, students they're getting this background in different kinds of ethical theories, but then it's application. It is discerning between these two. It's being introduced to, you know, um, many different conflicting ideas and having to work out for themselves which are, the ones that they are going to try to defend and try to respond to. Every paper they write is an argumentative paper. Every conversation in that class, I don't do any sort of regurgitation kinds of tests. Everything they're doing in that class, every discussion we have, everything they write, it is about analyzing whether it's a theory or an issue or a text. It is trying to then apply it to different issues in leadership, trying to say, is it the case that leaders should, be following the same sorts of ethical theories or ethical guidance that we do in our regular lives, or is there something special going on when we think about the art of persuasion? Um, is it the case that just because it works well that it's right? And so yes, everything they're doing in that room is critical thinking. And I
Yeah.
think that's just true across the liberal arts. And so that's part of the importance of that core to us. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I don't want to park too long on that, but it's a
Right.
great question, Roger. And it's I'll just finish up by saying, as our students are going off from OSU into their new careers, that ability for critical thinking, that's the learning that they're going to continue to need to do on the job as their positions change, as they evolve. But let's move forward to the next question. Chris Adams. For the experiential requirement, would a student be able to use an internship course from a different college, or is there a required ASC course that they need to take? It is so. Yes, the answer to the question is yes. They would be able to bring in a course from another college. As Krista said, the exceptions are approved by through the faculty advisory committee, but we do encourage students who are working in other areas. This is a way for them to come to OSU if they want to. If they're in Fisher, they're in Glenn, they're in BHE or wherever. And they want to engage in the liberal arts and sciences. They want to engage ASC. Here's a great opportunity for them to find ways to don't want to be too glib. It's two birds, one stone. But if there's a meaningful internship opportunity that they're pursuing through their own college, through the first program, yeah, we have the flexibility to give them credit for that. We did create an ASC course, I think it's 4192, 4162.
I think it's
Yeah,
92,
yeah.
I think.
Right. I drafted the syllabus, but we did create we created this specifically for students to get credit for the internship work that they're doing. It wasn't something that we had in ASC beforehand. Krista, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's they can get 3 credits of experiential learning. We created one because we are going to have a lot of college students, and there wasn't one in the college that seemed to meet. But if a student from another college says, "Hey, I mean, I did the exact same approved experiential learning. I just got credit in in my college," right? That sort of 9 credits that they can count from outside the college would be fine.
Yep.
It wouldn't be able to be above if they already are doing 9 credits just because of the technical nature of graduating with a degree in the College of Arts and Sciences. You can only have 9 credits from outside, but that can be 3 of them, right? So that would be approved. We're not gonna, well, that'll probably be an exception basis. Like, I don't think we're gonna hunt down every experiential learning course from outside the college and add it officially. But there would be no problem at all to make that exception.
Yeah. Thanks. Next up, Caitlin Davis. Is there a list of approved courses for each of you said 12 specializations, actually 6 approved specializations, and then these thematic pathways that exist in a couple of the specializations. But yes, there is. The short answer to your question, yeah. Krista and a colleague of ours, Jen Getson, worked very, very hard to map our curriculum onto the website. So if you go to ascleadershipmajor.osu.edu, then you can click on the button that says Explore Our Curriculum, and you'll find we've got our full curriculum right there. And so you can see the full array of courses that are available to students.
Yeah, so there's sort of 2 ways to see it too. So there's the one that kind of like describes it, and then they have these drop downs for every specialization or pathway. And don't apologize for that because it's very it's weird language. But the other thing is it also has a at the bottom, it says full course list. And Jed Getson put together this beautiful Airtable. And if that's something you're comfortable using, you can click into that and then you can play around with it. You can filter courses based on specializations and skills courses. And as things get updated, right, that'll always be sort of your up-to-date list. We'll hopefully keep everything on both sides up to date, but that Airtable, if it's just like an easier way for you to look at it, we just kind of put that up. And that's a fun little thing to play around with, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Alex Hughes has a question. Will this major be available and doable for FTE folks, or could there be a future option for a master's? Yes and yes. Yeah, all the coursework for employees at the university, yes, it is available. And then we are launching discussions within arts and sciences, and then with partners external to arts and sciences, about 4+1, 3+2 options, where students can come in, do the leadership major, and then use the experience as a launching pad into an MA program. And we're considering the possibility of a leadership MA as well. Honestly, we're a few years away from that. We need to stabilize, launch, stabilize, build the partnerships, get the 3+2, 4+1s moving forward. So don't look for that anytime soon, but it is something that we are discussing. And Alex, your question also reminds me something else I really wanted to mention, which is we are in really productive and enthusiastic conversations with the deans of the 4 regional campuses, Lima, Marion, Mansfield, and Newark, about making initially the core required components, the core courses, available on the regional campuses, and then hopefully creating pathways for students who want to actually stay on the regional campuses for them to complete the leadership major there as well. So what I hope to see are students coming from across the state of Ohio. Again, the regional campuses are open enrollment to all students who graduate from an Ohio high school. Many students come straight to Columbus. Students who, for whatever reason, maybe it's financial, maybe it's because their family's nearby, they want to stay on the regional campuses. We want to make certain that we're creating this opportunity. We're opening this opportunity to them as well. Some, if they want to declare the major, then we can help them get started on the regionals. And then we want to make certain that we've got the resources out there to ensure that students who want to stay or need to stay for whatever reason are able to complete the major on the regionals as well. And so we're investing some of the resources that our donors have directed our way to make certain that we can incentivize course creation and do it in a really innovative way so that we can maximize resources and reach all of those students. Anything I didn't add on that subject, Krista?
The only other thing it reminded me of, you were talking masters. The other thing is sort of thinking smaller, which is we're also kicking around the idea of what a minor would look like. Right now we just have the major, but we're considering, what might a minor look like as well. But I think, yeah, as Scott said, we're going to sort of, I think, start in thinking about master's opportunities. We're going to start with the idea of 4+1, 3+2 with already existing master's programs, because we would love to at some point in time have a master's certificate and then our own MA, but that's going to probably require actual hiring of new faculty to teach the sort of central leadership courses at a graduate level, to be able to offer something like that. So that's going to be a little while.
Yep. Okay, then Caitlin has another question. Will the specialization need to be declared on a student's Buckeye Link before they are able to start in those courses? And the answer there is no. No, the students are able to enroll in these courses independently. And here again, for example, the leadership and history class, it's in my department, so it's the case that I know best. We were offering that to history majors and then to an awful lot of students who are not history majors, even before the major itself was approved. That course does serve as one of our history courses, but it's also mapped into the GE under the citizenship theme. And we've done that with a number of our courses. We've done that as well with the ethics of leadership course, also mapped into the GE. Again, it goes to the core of who we are as Ohio State, and trying to ensure that we are really leaning into that central mission, education for citizenship. So, like I said, that's been the North Star as we've planned the major and as we're launching it, trying to make certain that we're serving the interests of our students, we're serving the interests of the state, and we're helping to train that next generation of great leaders, whether it's in business and business is one of the specializations. Politics, military and security studies is another specialization where we've got a substantial number of courses mapped into it, and that sits right next to social justice and civil rights, leadership in society, and science and innovation as well. So we've got those 6 specializations. Add on, hopefully, the global leadership before long, and we are doing what we can to help Ohio State train that next generation of leader.
Yeah, just to add on to the response to Kaylin, I think one of the things that I like about the fact that they don't have to declare a specialization or they could switch it is that, we see these students, switch majors all the time in their 4 years because they start something, they realize they're interested in something else. And what's nice is they could be working on this leadership core and still be like, all right, I know this leadership core, like I want to do this. And then maybe they take a class in one of the specializations and then think, you know what, I really don't want to do this anymore. They still have those core courses. It still counts. And then instead of switching a whole major, right, switching a specialization is a lot more seamless. So there's going to be flexibility there. They can start taking classes and see how it shapes out. Maybe there's skills classes that count for a lot of the same specializations, right? So they could even still be taking some more of the classes before they've really decided what field they're most interested in taking it, right?
Yeah.
So actually a lot of the major can be done in a way where they haven't quite figured out what path they want to take, and still, not run out of time, right, to do it.
Yep. Caitlin's got another question for us.
This is great. Keep them coming.
Yeah, that's right. Please do. And anyone else who's out there, if you've got a question, we've got a few extra times. There are none in the queue. So right now we've got Caitlin's. Caitlin says that she thinks student athletes will be really drawn to this, which I appreciate. I hope so. We had some great partnership from the folks in the Sports and Society program who were excited to partner with us here. So the last question, to clarify, a student could double count a course with the GE KNSISM 2210, for example, it's on the course approved list and also a history GE. So the answer is yes. That is actually listed and that is one of the courses. It's not an ASC course, it's external to ASC, but a student who is an ASC student who's a leadership major can take that course, and it will in fact count toward the major. Yes, that's right. We're trying to be, we're really trying to incentivize students to explore the arts and sciences, but also to move among the colleges. I know that sometimes is counterintuitive if one looks at it from a budgetary model, as colleges tend to want to hold on to their students. But we're taking a different kind of an approach here. We're trying to encourage students to really explore their passions here at OSU and find their pathways. So I think the more pathways we create, it'll serve the major better, and most importantly, it'll serve our students better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is the nitpicky stuff, which advisors know, that GEs can double count with like majors, except in these sort of like the topics classes, I believe it is. So there's a certain part of the GE that you can't double count with your major course, but it's a small one. And so the general answer to that question though is yes. And 2210 is listed under already an approved course for the sports leadership pathway.
That's right. Great. Well, if there are no additional questions, again, I want to thank everybody for making some time to sit and talk with us today. We really appreciate it. As questions do arise over time, please reach out. We've got, well, I know Krista's email is listed right there on the website, so thank you, Krista. We appreciate it. Also on some of our student-facing literature as well. But we'd be happy to hear from you about any additional questions that you've got. Other than that, thank you again, and I hope everybody has a really great afternoon.
Yeah, and I mean also if you want to help us get the word out to students, if for instance student athletes will be really excited, like let us know. We're happy to come talk to constituents you have. Or send you materials, have separate meetings with you, anything, not just sort of questions about the major, but just you want to get lunch sometime. Happy to do so. We really want this major to reach as many students as we can. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, sir. Thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.